Good evening. I am Tiffany Wells. I am a district coordinator with the Duval County Public Schools. My current position is a CDC grant coordinator, and I am so thrilled to have you here tonight to learn more about the Wonder Years. And now you're probably asking yourself, what are the Wonder Years? What is this about? And so tonight, what we will do, we'll do a little bit of discussion through PowerPoint presentation, as well as looking at the perspective of being a preteen and a teen through the lens of a child. Stay tuned, and I look forward to answering your questions and engaging in lots of conversation. I will now be sharing my screen. Today's presentation is called The Wonder Years, the Millennial Hack. In today's presentation, we will be covering a few areas such as curiosity, mixed feelings and emotions, the acceptance, changes, and emotions. So you're probably asking yourself again, what is it about the wonder years? And this is when the years between childhood and adolescence, also consider early adolescence, transition to adolescence, most commonly also known as the second decade of life. Young teens undergo multiple physical and social and emotional, intellectual changes, which have been viewed as the setting them apart from both younger and older students. So the psychology behind it all is much of this is because the frontal lobes of the last areas of the brains is last to mature. Now, this development is not complete until an individual or a person is well into their 20s. The frontal lobes play a big role in coordinating complex decision making, impulse, control, and making things able to, or being able to consider multiple options and consequences of those options. Middle adolescents are more able to think abstractly and consider the bigger picture of things, but they still may lack the ability to apply in its moment. For example, in certain situations, kids in middle adolescents may find themselves thinking things like, I'm doing well enough in math and I really want to see this movie. One night of skipping studying won't matter. Do I really have to think about what I'm doing, or is it really going to affect me in the future? These are typical abstract questions that your middle adolescents are trying to figure out. And again, these are some very hard questions that students are trying to shuffle through in a very split decision time making. Now, again, your early adolescent ages are going to be typically between the ages of 10 and 13. And during this stage, children are often starting to grow more quickly. So you're going to see a lot of body changes. There may be some curiosity about certain body parts and the way that they are developing. And your children and children in general may not think that these things are normal, or sometimes they may expect that the changes are normal. Your middle adolescents are from ages 14 to 17 years old, and these physical changes from puberty continue during the middle adolescence. Many middle school adolescents have more arguments with their parents as they struggle for more independence. The 21st century. Now, what we thought about adolescence and during the wonder years has been completely false. There is a famous psychologist by the name of Stanley Hall, and he is a renowned or was a renowned professor at Clark University. Now, he defined the adolescent period as a inevitable biologically based storm of stress. So according to what Hall and Freud and Erickson, all of some of the great thinkers about human development, psychological development, all of what we had thought for many years about the adolescence was that it was going to be a period of crisis and disturbance. Now, these ideas resulted in the view of adolescents were broken, they were in danger, and that this was a time in which they would all be troubled. We thought about this much of the 20th century. Most research about this pretty much gave us the idea that there was going to be a deficit in the conception of young people and society, and that because of this, there was going to be a constant strain on morals, goals, expectations, and emotions. But what we have learned that this is completely false. And now within the 21st century, we're seeing a complete change of this. And now, some of the things before we get into this concept and how we have been able to debunk this myth is looking at how well our students, our children have done in the 21st century. Now, we see here with Steve Jobs. Can you believe that the iPad has only been out since 2010? The iPad is not even that old. And so children are learning as we're learning. And so this is very exciting to see that we're all being exposed to new technology around the same time. Now, some of the other things that have hit within the 21st century that our students are having to learn and process through, much like adults. And remember, their frontal lobes aren't as developed as ours are as adults. So think about some of the things that our students have had to see and to witness during the 21st century. We have things such as the Sandy Hook Elementary casualties that took place in Newton, Connecticut. Most recently, the Marjorie Stone Douglas High School shootings within the movie theater, Aurora, Colorado, shootings within churches, as well as very fun music festivals. And so it is no surprise to us that our students are having a hard time. However, it has not dictated or has set them on a path of turbulence, a storm of emotions and stress. And so, why do we think this? We realize that decision making is so important. And some of the things that prevents us as adults, as well as our children, our students, from making effective decisions is lack of understanding, emotional barriers, personal biases, and other people's opinions. So now we have the 5C model, and this is the model that we like to use for positive youth development. Now, research contradicts the stereotypes that the teenage years, the storm years, the years of stress just does not really exist. Most young people do not have a stormy adolescence period. Although adolescents spend increasingly more time with their peers than their parents, most adolescents still value their relationships with their parents hugely. Most adolescents have core values that are consistent with that of their parents. Much of their education, social justices, spirituality. Most adolescents select friends who share those same core values as they do. So, how do we keep children on a positive path through adolescence? What constitutes positive youth development? And we look at this through the lens of the 5C models, as you can see here on the screen. Now, the 5C model is a framework that outlines the psychological, behavioral, and social characteristics that indicate youth are thriving. And when high levels of the 5Cs are developed, it ultimately results in the 6C related to contributing to self, community, and society. Based on the last 3 decades of developmental science, the 5C model of positive youth development has been widely used as a indicator and uh, as a facilitator to help youth develop those positive images about themselves. And so the 5Cs, as well as the additional one, once you have reached a high level of the first five, you'll see here on the left hand side of the screen. Now we have competence, and what competence is a positive view of one's actions in specific areas that includes social, academics, cognitive health, vocational. Social competence also refers to the interpersonal skills. These are conflict resolution ability. The cognitive competence also refers to the cognitive ability of decision making. Academic competence refers to the school performance as shown in part by school grades, attendance, and test scores. Health competence involves in using nutrition, exercise, and the ability to keep oneself fit. And lastly, uh, another competence is vocational competence, and this involves work habits, exploration of career choices. Do our students want to be entrepreneurs? Do they want to go to college, etc.? The next 5C PYD model is confidence, and this is an internal sense of overall positive self worth and self efficacy. The next C is connection. Positive bonds with people and institutions that are reflected in changes or exchanges between the individual and his or her peers within family, school, and community, and in which both parties contribute to the relationship. The next C is character. This is respect for societal and cultural norms, possessions of standards for correct behaviors, and a sense of right and wrong, moral standards, and integrity. The next C, which is a dual C, is caring and compassion. This is a sense of sympathy and empathy for others. And once you have reached the highest level of these Ds, you then reach contribution. And so, how can I be a person that contributes to society in a positive way? How can I be a contributor in school, to my family, to my community, to those around me? And also, what we have found that out of all the C's, the ones that have the highest variance of we would say of importance would be cognitive, which is at about 17%, social is at 17% as well, and then values goes about 67%. So here we see that really and truly students really do value and what their family and what their friends and what they've learned, the things that they've been accustomed to all of their lives, pretty much overtakes more of what social standards tells us and more of what their cognitive senses tells us, that they are pretty much really influenced and embedded in family values. So you may ask yourself, what is it that I can do to keep my child's enhancement, to keep ourselves going, and to be a person that is truly uh, being there for my child. And so we come up here with the 10 key principles of good parenting. And so, what are the 10 um, principles? Now, these are in no order. You can pretty much practice these in a way that best fits you, or some of these may not work for you at all, but we truly believe that if you can implement all 10 of these in some fashion, that it would definitely help with the positive youth development. So, for the first one, what you do really does matter. Whether it's your child's health, whether it's your own health, here is where we get our children, and our students to understand that treat other people the way that you would like to be treated. This is one of the most important principles. What you do makes a difference. Don't just react on the spur of moments. Ask yourself, what do I want to accomplish? And is this likely to produce good results? Number two, you cannot be too loving. It is simply not possible to spoil a child with love. What we often think of as the product of spoiling a child is never the result of showing a child too much love. It is usually the consequence of giving a child things in place of love. Things like leniency, lowering the expectation, or giving them material possessions. So, in short, there can never be too much love, things that cannot be tangibly given. Number three, be involved in your child's life. Being an involved parent takes time and it is hard work. And oftentimes it requires you to rearrange some things in your life and your priority. It frequently means sacrificing what you want to do for your child needs to be first. Uh, this is something that we must all practice for not only their physical health, but also their mental health. Being involved does not mean just doing your child's homework by correcting it. Homework is a tool for teachers to know whether the child is learning or not. If you do the homework for your child, you're not letting the teacher know how the child is actually learning. And so, although again, we see that helping with homework is a sense of quality time, we want to make sure that during this time that we are not actually doing the homework. We're developing a relationship, we're developing a rapport with our child to get them to be honest about how they are learning, whether or not they're getting the work, and how comfortable they are. The fourth thing is adapting your parenting to fit your child. Keep a pace with your child's development. Your child is growing up. Consider how age is affecting your child's behavior. The same drive for independence that is making a 3-year-old say no to everything that you are asking them, this same intellectual growth spurt is making your 13-year-old very curious and inquisitive in the classroom, and is also making him or her more argumentative at the dinner table. So, just as sure as your 3-year old is telling you no to absolutely everything, your tweens, your 13, your 14, your 15-year olds, they're also learning to develop a question and inquisitive mind. Number 5, establish and set rules. If you do not manage your child's behavior when he or she is young, he or she will have a hard time learning how to manage themselves when they're older and whenever you're not around. So here is when you really have to determine how to micromanage your child, but then also giving your child some type of independence during those tween years to let them make choices that are very good for them, and that they can see can have some positive consequences or some negative consequences. So establishing rules, but also allowing them to make their own decisions. Number 6 is foster your child's independence. You want to set limits to help your child develop a sense of self control. You should encourage independence to help them develop a sense of direction. To be successful, they need both independence and also managing. Number 7, you want to be consistent. If your rules vary from day to day in an unpredictable fashion, or if you enforce them only intermittently, your child's misbehaviors or your child's wonder years can become troubling because they're not quite sure when the rules apply, when things are non negotiable, or when to pretty much push the buttons a little bit further. Number 8, you want to definitely avoid harsh discipline. Parents should never hit their children. Under any circumstances, children should not be abused for learning, for trying to figure things out. We should not be looking at the wonder years as a indicator that children are being disrespectful, that they are no longer abiding by the family's values and moral compasses. This is just a time in which they're exploring. So we want to always keep that in mind to avoid harsh discipline. Number 9, explain your rules and decision. Good parenting and good parents have expectations that they want their children to live up to. Generally, parents over explain to younger children and under explain to adolescents. Now, what is obvious is to you may not be evident to a tween, a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old. He or she does not have the priorities, the judgment, and the experiences that you do. So we want to make sure that we're not underutilizing the time that we should be explaining to them the reason why we're making certain decisions or why we have decided to put certain rules into place. And number 10 would be treat your child with respect. The best way to get respectful treatment from your child is to treat them respectfully. You should give your child the same courtesies that you would give to anyone else. Speak to your children politely. Tell them that you respect their opinion. You are wanting to let them know that you are paying attention to them when they're speaking. Treat them kindly. Let them know that you understand that they are definitely going through developmental changes, and that you too have also done that as well. We know that most parents do a very good job at raising kids, but truly effective parenting means not just relying on natural instincts, but also knowing what works and why. Lastly, we want to emphasize that positive youth development emphasizes the mutually influential and relationships between the child, their family, and society. Research indicates that individuals such as parents, teachers, mentors, coaches, faith leaders, institutions, librarians, youth adult collaborators, family school psychologists, anyone from the person that drives the bus, anyone who comes into contact with your child or children contributes to the promoting of positive youth development. And so, not only do we rely on those individuals to help us here in the district, we also have our teen health centers. If a child is 13 years and older, they can come to any of our teen health centers within the Duval County Public School District, whether or not they attend that specific school. You can see a calendar of where we are and what services are available to children as it pertains to um, mental health, physical health, and other areas. We also have the ability to do referrals for children if they would like to talk to someone about things that they are going through mentally and psychologically. If there are some health concerns, that students that your child may not be very comfortable with talking to you about, they can come to the Teen Health Center, in which we help them with the tools and resources to have that talk with their parents, because we know that the best attention and the best resource and the love and kindness that promotes the healthiest relationships begins at home. And so this is all for our uh, of our presentation for this evening. We look forward to working with you. And should you need any more resources, or if I can be of any assistance to you during this time, please feel free to reach out to me. My name is Tiffany Wells. I can be reached at 904-390-2469. Thank you.